Is Aaron Rodgers difficult to get along with or very difficult to get along with?
None of the above.
Oh, okay.
That's Pardon My Take in Green Bay with Packers coach Matt LaFleur, Big Cat, and my internet son, PFT commenter. A little too close for comfort with the shorts on. What's your position on a guy in shorts sitting next to you? How much of a buffer do you want?
I'm not a big shorts guy just because I always think if I'm not at a beach or by a beach and I'm wearing shorts, I look like I'm 12 years old. But I'm also going to let people just be themselves, and that's PFT's look, so I'm going to let him be himself. Are you going to give me credit, though? That was a great question. That's how you do journalism right there. You box them in, and then you watch them be uncomfortable. That is journalism 101. I learned that at the University of Wisconsin, where I didn't take any journalism classes.
And there was a little bit of a pause there before Matt LaFleur answered, and it's possible he was trying to think of something funny that he would say, and is it going too far? Am I stepping out of character here? But look, I mean, here's the reality. Aaron Rodgers is who he is, and people can try to argue with us that he's really not a guy who makes passive-aggressive comments, and he's not a guy who's super sensitive, and he's not a guy who really wants to be in charge, and he wants to be able to make these little drive-by comments without being criticized by guys like us for making these little drive-by comments. But that's who he is, and that's what Matt LaFleur is walking into. And, you know, we were talking on the TV-only side before we came back from the radio break about Bill Parcells and how he dealt with Phil Simms and talking about how John Gruden deals with his players. The coach is the boss. This is not a partnership. This is not a collaboration. This is a head coach who presumably is going to be there a lot longer than the player is going to be there, although who knows in any of these current NFL situations. But I don't feel like that hierarchy, that military top-down, all the rankings, and the coach is the general. I just don't know that that's the way it's going to work in Green Bay, and I don't know that that's going to work for the Packers if that is the way it plays out.
Well, we should say, though, that the NFL that Phil Simms was talking about in the NFL today is very, very different, especially when you talk about the offensive side of the ball and teams scoring millions of points and the quarterback having a lot more control at the line of scrimmage. And so it might not be as much of a Matt LaFleur as Aaron Rodgers' boss. But what we've seen, and I know people will claim, bias here because I'm a Bears fan and Mike is a Vikings fan, and the Packers have been a thorn in our side our entire lives. But we're just going off of what Aaron Rodgers has said and what Matt LaFleur has said. They have publicly disagreed. So I think it's fair to say, are they on the same page? That's not us making things up. We're just using straight facts. Aaron Rodgers is, when he's healthy, the most talented quarterback in the NFL, okay? So no one's disputing that fact. But we saw it at the end with Mike McCarthy. We're going to maybe see it again this year with Matt LaFleur. Is he all in with his coaches? And, is it one of those situations where if he perceives the guy in the room who's trying to coach him up isn't as smart as him, will he listen to him all the time? Will he take everything in? I lean that Aaron Rodgers is a little bit changed because of how everything ended last year with Mike McCarthy and the Bleacher Report article, but who's to say? Because they have disagreed publicly already, and we don't know.
Yeah, and there's been two different disagreements that have come to light publicly that should have remained private. One deals with how much freedom he will have at the line of scrimmage. The Matt LaFleur offense will call two plays in the huddle, and then when you go to the line of scrimmage, if you're the quarterback, based upon a predetermined set of parameters, you decide which of the two plays you're actually going to call. It's not your discretion. It is based upon what you see, based upon how you've been coached. Aaron Rodgers wants to be able to basically go to the line of scrimmage and do whatever he wants, and that's what he went public saying he thinks he should be able to do. That's the kind of thing that needs to stay between Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur. And there are so many Packers fans out there that just flat out refuse to acknowledge that that's something that we shouldn't know about. And there are probably plenty of teams out there where there's that kind of tension, but we don't know about because the quarterback doesn't say it publicly. And then last week, after the joint practices with the Texans and the Packers, when Aaron Rodgers comes out and says it's not very smart to have live or close to live kickoff drills, and the NFLPA, I'm sure, is going to be interested in that. You never take that public if you're a player on a football team. You always take that privately to the coach. So two instances where we know about issues between those two guys that we shouldn't know about. fair criticism of Aaron Rodgers. And I know there are plenty of people out there that disagree. That's okay. You ain't changing our minds on this one.
Yeah, and it's not criticism of Matt LaFleur because he's kind of put in a tough situation when his quarterback comes out and says those things that are opposite of what he's saying. I'll also just say this for Matt LaFleur. When we talked to him, when we went up to Green Bay last week, I brought up he's in the Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay coaching tree, Mike Shanahan. I brought up the Falcons and the famous beer that Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan had and kind of hashed things out, and Matt Ryan went on to win the MVP. They go to the Super Bowl, and I talked to him about that, and I think that kind of coming together relationship, he learned a lot from what Kyle Shanahan was able to do with Matt Ryan, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt being able to figure it out with Aaron Rodgers, because as young as he is, coming from the Titans who weren't a dynamic offense last year, he has been around, and he has been around some very prolific, great offensive minds. So Matt LaFleur, he knows how to coach, and I think he knows just from the fact that he's been on teams where maybe the offensive coordinator and the quarterback have not always seen eye to eye. I think he'll be able to figure this out.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Matt LaFleur because he is kind of caught in the middle of what I think is a deeper struggle in Green Bay between CEO Mark Murphy and quarterback Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers has resentment that he was cut out of this process of hiring a head coach. And you know what? If you want your quarterback to be a quasi-leader, to not be one of the employees, to be an extension of management, you could argue that maybe you should go to the quarterback, especially the guy who you've made the face of the franchise, who you've given $30 million plus per year, and get his input before you hire a coach who's going to run an offense that gives the quarterback no freedom at the line of scrimmage. So I could see why there may be some tension, that there may be some failure by Mark Murphy and Aaron Rodgers to truly be on the same page. But that may be the broader fight here. And, anytime any of this comes up, there are people around the league who will say to me, this is Aaron Rodgers giving Mark Murphy the proverbial middle finger and making sure that Murphy understands who really is in charge. The guy that they can't do anything about. They're not going to cut him. They're not going to trade him. They're not going to bench him. He's there as long as his abilities are at the level that justify his ongoing employment. And you know what? However this ends, it's not going to end well, because I think the Packers, when they do get to the point where Rodgers isn't Rodgers anymore, they are not going to hesitate to rip that Band-Aid off and move on.
This is why I love being around you, Mike, because I found the only person who goes, in on Aaron Rodgers worse than me. It's great. It's great. It feels great. Now let's just throw this out there with everything that's been said here in this segment. Winning cures all. If the Packers are good this year, none of this matters. None of this gets talked about. Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, if the Packers come out and they're so let's say 7-2 halfway through the season, we will see so many puff pieces about Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers getting along in this new relationship, because that's how we do it. We always react to the results. So it really is kind of all in front of them. If you're a Packers fan saying these guys are two wackos and they're just going in on our team, it's all in front of you. If you win football games, none of this matters.
Yeah, but the other side of the coin is that if they don't win football games and they're dealing with adversity, but every team deals with adversity at some point, except for the 2007 Patriots prior to Super Bowl 42 and except for the 72 Miami Dolphins. But at some point, you're going to deal with a losing streak. And how are you going to deal with that? A game doesn't go your way. Aaron Rodgers is talking at his locker after the game. Is he going to throw a little shade about the call that was made on 3rd and 7 in the third quarter with the game on the line? And given that we've already had public complaints about his freedom at the line of scrimmage, about the joint practices with the Texans, we have to assume that when that adversity arrives, Big Cat, there is going to be some sort of a comment that you and I will be able to talk about and say, see, here's the evidence of the fracture in the relationship.
I'm having an out-of-body experience right now, because Packer fans always come at me and say I am horribly, horribly unbiased and I'm very, very brutal to Aaron Rodgers. If this is what I sound like, I do sound a little crazy, because you're crazy, and I love it. I love it, Mike. Don't get me wrong. We could do 2 hours about Aaron Rodgers being a bad teammate, but I love it. But you are crazy.
But we've never seen a quarterback like this. Not that I can remember.
He goes, he just tees it up. He tees it up right off of it.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm going
but
again.
he is but a guy who is so good, so good.
Most talented quarterback.
But at the same time, he does things his own way, and then he refuses to acknowledge that he's doing things his own way. It's, you know what I'm saying? It's like he wants to be able to throw shade. He wants to be able to make these comments, and he knows what he's doing, but he gets pissed off if anybody points out what he's doing. It is such an enigma. I love it. I hope he plays until he's 70. It makes covering the NFL all the more intriguing.
Yes, he's passive aggressive. It's absolutely true. I also am starting to realize that it's probably because you have to spend 4 days with Chris Sims, who is an absolute fanboy and disgusting how biased he is for Aaron Rodgers. So that's the reaction we're getting. I love it, Mike. I promise you I'll be here every Friday, and we can just have a vent session about Aaron Rodgers.
Well, and here's the thing. Chris Sims has Aaron Rodgers as the #1 quarterback in the league, even after Patrick Mahomes came out and revolutionized the position last year and threw 50 touchdown passes and was the near unanimous NFL MVP. He's still got Rodgers ahead of Patrick Mahomes, although he has recently acknowledged it's 1A and 1B.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers is my boogeyman, and I'll admit that. He has wiped the floor with me as a fan his entire career. So, you know, if on Thursday, September 5th, he comes out and beats the Bears, I will be back shaking under a blanket with chills, being like, get the boogeyman away.
See, and I think I need you on the sidelines that Thursday night because I'm going to be down there. I have a feeling there's going to be an accidental overthrow or two that whacks me in the cranium. I just.
And you have a big head.
You
have a big head. You have a big head.
Small. How can I have a big head and small face?
You have a short face, big head.
All right.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.